Good morning, everyone. This is Tim Wilmot speaking from Wizard Systems. Thanks for joining me today for our GoldMine 101 session, one of our regular series of GoldMine presentations. And this morning, I'm going to focus on the GoldMine Calendar. Now, this presentation will be approximately quarter of an hour, 20 minutes or so in duration. So this is just an overview of the calendar feature. It's not meant to be in-depth training. My company, Wizard Systems, we offer many extensive training options on using the calendar, normally on our very popular basic introduction course for GoldMine. Now on the call today, we've got different people using all sorts of different versions of GoldMine. Pretty much what I'm about to discuss, the calendar is relevant to any version of GoldMine, so don't worry too much if you're running an older version there. Now, the audio part of this presentation is one way only. If you've got any questions, please type those into the question box on your meeting control panel, and I'll do my best to answer those towards the end. I'll just give out your first name to protect your identity when I answer your question. Also, this session is being recorded. After the presentation, you'll receive an automatic email from our system with a little link to the recording, and we'll most likely put it up on our YouTube channel as well. Okay, so let's get started. First of all, as I normally do, a brief mention about Wizard Systems. There are some people on the call that haven't, maybe not too familiar with us. We are a leading supplier of GoldMine worldwide. All we do is CRM. That's the only thing we do here. We've done it a long time, and we've got an extensive range of services around GoldMine. Any kind of consultancy, implementation help, training, of course. We can train you at your site. You can come to our place. We're based near Bristol in the UK, and we can do online training as well if you don't want to travel, or if there's a specific topic that's fairly short in nature, we can do that, and provide all the ongoing support as well. Okay, so let's dive into the calendar in GoldMine and just give you a whiz round the basic functionality and some little hints and tips and things that you might like to change with the way that you work with your GoldMine calendar. Right, here we are then. GoldMine Premium Edition, a fairly up-to-date version of GoldMine, and I'm displaying the calendar, which you can access, of course, from your navigation menu or your main menu. Now, first of all, the calendar, of course, it's a graphical display of your activities, ideal for any activity that has a start time and a duration. And running across the top, typically what we've got here are a few options to, of course, schedule a new activity up there, to print out what you see, to refresh the display, to delete an activity, to zoom into an activity. So here's an activity I created earlier. If I just highlight this, click on this little zoom button. This is quite interesting because this can show you the audit trail of this activity. So every activity in GoldMine has the date, time of and the name of the user that created the activity, the completion of the activity, date and time, name of user, and also who might last have updated the activity, who's tinkered with it recently. So nice little quick summary there of those key dates of this specific activity. And of course, in this box here will be the notes of that action. Up here, we can actually dictate the date range that we're seeing. Of course, we're working as a team, normally using a CRM tool, and we may want to see other people or multiple people at the same time. You could see a group of people, a group of people's diaries at the same time. As different colors there. Also a quick way here of jumping to today. So if you, up in the top right corner here, you can navigate around the calendar, and we're viewing the calendar here a week at a glance. Very easy to dive quickly to today. Editing activity and then completing activity. Of course, that's an important thing that you would normally do with any activity in GoldMine, is complete things when they're done rather than leaving them outstanding. Complete something, then schedule a new activity. Across the bottom of the calendar, you've got some date range options. I'm currently on the week display, which in my experience, in my own personal preference, that's the normal date range I tend to select rather than the day or month. But you can, of course, slip into that month view, year view. These things highlighted in blue. There's obviously some activity lurking below on that date. And then there's the planner view. There's a couple of views here that are quite unique to GoldMine. So more of a sort of summary view, if you like, as is the outline view. So this is where you can see things in a sort of tree type structure, and you can easily move things, drag and drop things around as you wish there. And finally, there's pegboard. Again, quite a unique thing for GoldMine to see, particularly useful if there's a lot of you and you can't physically see your colleagues. A nice way if they're active GoldMine users to see if they're logged in, if they're logged out, when did they last log in, when did they last log out. And quite interesting, quite interesting to see some user inactivity here. A little bar here appears if they've been inactive for a few minutes. And a question mark there. This being a demonstration system, these people haven't actually logged into this GoldMine system, so GoldMine has no idea of their movements. So that's those bottom tabs. To schedule activity, of course we could do it from the top left corner there, but it's actually a lot simpler to click into the start time of an activity and then hold down the left-hand mouse button and drag down the duration of the activity. So each of these grid lines running across horizontally in my calendar are half-hour durations. You can alter those in your preferences. I release my left-hand mouse button and up pops the schedule appointment dialog box, prompting me, of course, for details of the appointment. Automatically, my date, time, and duration has been filled in. And something else that might be relevant to the calendar here is the color. It will default to blue. You can actually, there is a little trick for forcing it to a certain color based on certain activity types, but you've got lots of different colors there as long as you're not colorblind. Lots of different colors there to choose to help you see at a glance when you're looking at a calendar and you're seeing lots of different activities, the nature of that activity. For example, if this was a private activity, you could have yellow. If it was an office activity, it could be red. If it was a provisional appointment, you weren't sure exactly whether the meeting is going to happen, that could be another color. So think about using those colors for different appointment or meeting situations. So a quick way of getting that appointment in there. And once it's in, you can use the old drag and drop way. Click on the activity, hold down your left-hand mouse button, and then drag it to an alternate date and time. Now, another thing you might like to change in your own personal use of the calendar is what information do you want to see on your calendar? A couple of things here. First of all, right-click anywhere on the calendar, click on your right-hand mouse button, and a little local menu will appear. And if you go down to activities, halfway down that local menu, up pops a little dialog box, essentially two columns here, allowing you to dictate what activities you see, whether they are outstanding, this first column, or whether they're completed. So at the moment, my calendar will display scheduled appointments, others, events, and these other activities down here, but it won't display things that I've completed or done. If I want to do that, a typical choice here might be to display completed appointments so that when you have done your meetings and you're looking back and you're glancing back through previous weeks, you can see exactly where you were there. So right-click, select activities and get those options correct for you in the way that you work. For example, if you want to display phone calls, you could do that up there. The other option you might like to change are in your preferences. So if I right-click again and I go down to options here and then calendar options, This will display the normal options dialog box with loads of other things that you can change about the way that the GoldMine application works for you. But we're here on the calendar tab, and this is where we can define the working week, colors, font size, what's your normal work days there. This auto rollover feature, be careful with this. If you tick one of those boxes, basically what happens is that as you log out of GoldMine and then you log back in again on a future day, it will bring forwards that activity type to the current day. Certainly, you would never do this. You would never tick the appointment box because you would lose the original appointment date of an outstanding activity. Now, I want to just describe basically this box here, more options. This is where you can dictate what information is displayed when you schedule an activity. And again, with GoldMine, think about the two types, the two types of activities: outstanding activities and completed activities. So scheduled activities and completed activities. So you've got some options here for displaying the reference, the subject line of the activity. Do you want to display the contact name, company name and reference, reference and company name? Do you want to display the activity code? Remember, the activity code in GoldMine is a short 3-letter code to further categorize this appointment. So you tick that box there. Or, this is where you can get quite clever, you can actually put in what's called an XBase, a DBase-like expression, a particular type of syntax to really customize the display of these activities. And just to give you an example of that, here's one I created earlier. This is an XBase expression. And basically, it's going to display 3 types of information. It's going to display the company name of the appointment, the location of the appointment, and the subject of the appointment. So I'm just going to highlight this text here, and let's just copy this, go back to my calendar options. Let's paste that in that box there, click OK, click OK again, and return to my calendar. And you might have noticed there straight away, there we are, we're displaying the company name, the location of the appointment, or the location of the customer, and the actual reference there as well. Well, that's a quick run through the calendar. There's quite a few other options there. As I say, we do cover this primarily on our very popular GoldMine introduction course at Wizard Systems, or we could go through this on an online session with you. Just let us know if you want to cover that in more detail. And now I'd like to open up our presentation as we normally do to any questions that you've got there, please. So locate your question section, pop those questions in there. First question from Sarah. Can you link to Google Calendar? Yes, you can. In recent versions of GoldMine, there's a way of integrating to Google Apps. It's part of the GoldMine Connect module or capability. Yes, that can be done. So a nice bi-directional way of showing those activities. Question from Andrew: is it possible to create a group of users and output their calendar to Excel for use in meetings, etc.? We find displaying user calendar live can get a little confusing. Yes, Andrew, you could go to your activity list. The other way of displaying activities, go to your activity list, select the appointment activity, and then right-click over that display, and there's an option that you will see called Output To, and you can output that to Excel. The other option is, of course, you could use a report writer or similar to do it that way. You could also get quite clever with a GoldMine dashboard. A GoldMine dashboard can display any information in GoldMine, any sort of format. And again, in a tabular layout, Andrew, that could display those activities. And again, you could right-click, output to Excel, bang, done. Okay, next question from Fernando. Can you sync with Outlook Calendar? Yes, you can. There's as part of the Outlook integration that's included with GoldMine, there is a feature to synchronize with your Outlook calendar. If, however, you are using Exchange, this synchronization feature, Fernando, is something that needs to be set up on an individual user's workstation. And we prefer, if you're using Exchange, we prefer to take the onus of that operation away from the workstation and run it centrally on the server. And there's a lovely add-on to GoldMine, which we may feature on future presentations, called Riva, which is an automatic way of synchronizing the Outlook calendar with GoldMine if you're using Exchange. So you put an activity into Outlook, it'll appear in GoldMine and vice versa via this Riva system. Let us know if you want to see that, Fernando. We can take you through that. Next question from Chris. Without having to use a macro, is there a quick way of scheduling a 15 or 30-minute appointment on a calendar? Normally I would drag an hour's worth with the left-hand mouse button, then amending it to a shorter time in the schedule and appointment window. I guess a macro would be the best way there, Chris, just thinking about that. Without using a macro as a quick way of scheduling a 15, 30-minute appointment in the calendar. Probably the macro is the best way to go there, Chris. I think also you might want to, in your preferences, display remember the grid lines I showed in the calendar? Mine were at a default setting of 30 minutes. Maybe you want to set that to 15 just so as you don't get confused there. Next question from Heather. What's the best way to record staff holiday on the calendar? And can you have more than one person showing as on a holiday on the same day? Most people would do that as an activity, but unlinked to a contact. So basically, as you saw me schedule the activity, Heather, every activity by default is linked to the current customer that you're looking at. So when you schedule the appointment, and remember in the calendar also you've got recurring, so if it's a week's holiday, you can schedule it once, but it spans over 5 days for you. Unlink it to the current contact, so it's not associated with that customer. Or you may indeed have a record of yourself in GoldMine, so you'd locate record Heather, schedule the appointment, select the recurring tab, span it over 5 days, maybe choose a different color, different activity code. Remember the 3-letter activity code, so HOL for holiday. And a nice way of then reporting on specifically on those holidays, or just seeing that particular type. If you want to see multiple people, then you do need to display the multiple people's calendar options. Next question from Andrew. Do you have any examples of how to code define the X-base expressions? I think there is some help in GoldMine, Andrew. Basically, these are very similar to D-base expressions. If you don't find anything in help, just pop a little email to our help desk here, support@wizard-systems.com, and just ask us for the FAQ. We've got a fact sheet on D-base, typical D-base expressions. And the syntax you use there, or maybe just give us an indication of what you want to try and display in the calendar. We can quickly show you. Next question from Brian. How feasible is it to track phone calls in the calendar? Yes, you can do that, Brian. That's just that activity type calls in your activity options. In my experience, though, if you're a GoldMine user that's got lots of phone calls and you're displaying them all on your calendar, yes, it's good to have that kind of display where you want to phone someone at a particular time of the day, or you've allocated a duration for that call. However, if you're a busy, say, telesalesperson or telemarketer and you're doing 75 phone calls per day, your calendar can get quite busy, and the danger then is that you can't see those phone calls because there's just so many things on your calendar. So yes, but just a word of caution there. Okay, I think that's the end of the questions there. So thanks very much for today's questions. They're really, really good and very relevant to the calendar option there. Just a few things while I've got you on the line. We had our latest GoldMine hotfix 4 last week. We'll post up on our GoldMine blog. Do a search for Wizard Systems GoldMine blog. Do a Google on that. You'll find us, and all the latest product news and hints and tips are up there. So hotfix 4 came out last week, as they do every month. We've still got one place on our Crystal Reports training course on the 17th. So that's on Friday, I think. And Windows 10. Message on Windows 10. A lot of people are asking us about Windows 10 compatibility. This now, we believe, will be part of the next sort of major release of GoldMine. So every year we have normally 2 major releases of GoldMine, a .1 and a .2. So this year we've had a 2015.1, so that's the latest major release, 2015.1, and then we've got these little hot fixes that come out every month. The next major release will be 2015.2, scheduled for November now, and this is where we will, or rather, GoldMine have informed us that there will be Windows 10 compatibility there, and a whole lot of other new stuff in there as well. So that's the lowdown so far on that. As always, if you've got any good suggestions for next week's presentation, drop me a line, please, tim@wizard-systems.com. Watch out for an email with the link to the recording. Thanks very much, everyone, again, for your attendance. Really good questions, and have a nice day. Thanks very much for your support and your interest. Thank you. Bye-bye.